Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my review for Bleach, the Agent of the Shinigami arc. So, first off, just a quick explanation for those who may be surprised or confused to see this on the channel. Um, I am rewatching Bleach, the entirety of the anime, in preparation for the new arc that is being released this fall, the Thousand Year Blood War arc. I'm trying to get caught up, trying to refresh myself because it's been a long time since I've seen Bleach. I mean, it ended as of where I was at over a decade ago. So, yeah. So I'm just trying to kind of get refreshed because, especially after a certain point, I don't remember much. um, it's like the earlier stuff I remember a lot more readily. But after a certain point, after it gets to a certain point, I don't remember as much. So I think it's a good idea. So why am I doing these reviews? Well, simply put, I will be reacting to the Thousand Year Blood War arc. I made an announcement for that back when the first teaser trailer came out. Yeah, I'm going to be reacting to the Thousand Year Blood War arc when it comes out this fall. So I thought I would do these arc reviews leading up to that to give you guys my thoughts. As I rewatch it, I can give you guys my thoughts on each arc, on the characters, on the events, to basically have you guys know where I stand with this series leading up to those reactions. Um, so keep in mind, I am not going into this blind. I'm going into this having seen all of the Bleach anime up to this point so far. And keep in mind, these reviews are going to be for the arcs of the series, including filler, but I will not be including the movies. I'm just going with the series here. Um, so keep that in mind. um, Now, let's talk about my experience to start off. We're gonna like give an intro to this and then go into the actual arcs specifications. So, Bleach is one of the big three anime. The only big three anime. There is no current big three. There was no big three before the big three, which is One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. These three series heralded in a more mainstream success for anime in the West. Um, and Bleach was the least popular of the three. Naruto did amazingly right off the bat. One Piece had a little more of a slow burn. It took a little more because the Four Kids dub almost kind of hurt it in that regard, but it still got people interested, and eventually it became just worldwide massive. But Bleach is often seen as more of a niche series compared to the other two, which I've never fully got because I've always found it better than at least Naruto, personally. Like, yes, growing up I watched more of Naruto, but to be fair, that was just because it was on more often. Once I started watching Bleach more actively, I got into it more. Um, because I think it comes down to a lot of the characters and even humor in Bleach. It takes things a lot more seriously than Naruto did. At least at first. Shippuden got a little more mature with that, but Shippuden also brought in a lot more issues. But I'm not going to get into that. Um, so I grew up really still being a fan of this, nonetheless. And like I said, I watched through all of it, but after a certain point, I just don't remember as much, just due to the time it's been since I've seen it. And there are points where I would rewatch episodes, but they would always be from the earlier parts, so I guess that's why I remember those parts a little easier too. So, going into this again, I am rewatching it in the dub because it's what I'm used to with this series, and it's how I know the characters' voices. Like I know Ichigo for being voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, and Stephanie Sheh as Orihime, and so on and so forth. These are the voices I know for them, so I'm choosing to rewatch it in the dub. And honestly, I know I might be in the minority on this, but I'm hoping that when Thousand Year Blood War arc comes out, that it is simuldubbed. Because I would honestly rather watch it in the dub. I mean, if it's not, I'll watch it in the sub. But I think I kind of prefer the dub for Bleach. Again, I know that might be unpopular, especially with people who are sub supremacists. But I genuinely believe it. So, we're starting off this series of arc reviews with obviously the beginning, the Agents of the Shinigami arc. This arc basically is entirely introductory. It introduces you to the characters, the plots, the concepts, the world. It is entirely meant to bring you into the series so that the next arcs will make sense, basically. It's very clear that this arc is meant entirely as introduction, as prelude, and that everything comes after it's the actual story. But the prelude is necessary. The prelude is important to how this series is going to go. So, let's talk about it. The series centers around 15-year-old high schooler Ichigo Kurosaki. Ichigo is a normal kid, all things considered, and sorry about the dog. She's barking at some noises outside. Ichigo's a normal kid, all things considered. Normal life, son of a doctor, and the only abnormal thing is that he can see spirits. He can see spirits and often tries to help them as best he can in order to get their eternal rest. One day he ends up crossing paths with a Shinigami, or Soul Reaper, named Rukia Kuchiki. And she ends up letting him borrow her powers in order to fight a creature known as a Hollow. Hollows are basically a soul that is lost. It is a soul that has become just completely taken in by rage or sorrow or other negative emotions to where it completely overtakes them and turns them into a violent monster. A Shinigami's job is not only to usher souls into the afterlife, but also to take care of these hollows in order to protect other souls, which the hollows tend to eat, as well as to protect people, because the hollows can affect and even kill regular people. However, they don't kill the hollow, they cleanse it. They cleanse its soul and allow it to pass on peacefully. So Ichigo is given the powers by Rukia and has to become a substitute Soul Reaper in order to protect his town and friends and family. And so this arc pretty much centers around that. Ichigo learning about his powers, learning how to properly handle them, learning how to handle different types of hollows and everything, and the introductions of those closest to him. We get to meet his family, his father Ishin, who is a doctor who's also really fucking weird, let's be honest. He's he's a goofball in the weirdest way. Um, he's voiced by Patrick Sates in the dub, which is fucking hilarious to me that he has the same voice as Dio from JoJo. Um, but he's a goofball. He messes around with his family, but he has a good heart. Ichigo also has two younger sisters, Karine and Yuzu, who are very good natured girls. Karine's a little colder, but not in a mean way necessarily. She's trying to stay tough for her family, while Yuzu is more of the motherly type. Because Ichigo's mother passed away years ago. Um, and then we have his friends that we get to meet throughout the arc. We have Orihime Inoue, who is a bright and cheery, little weird girl who has a very empathetic heart. We have Tatsuki Arasawa, Orihime's best friend, who is a sporty, tough girl who will defend her friends to the end. We have the likes of Keigo Asano, Yasutora Chad, all these different characters who are introduced to us. And we get to learn more about how he uses his powers through the summoning of his spirit sword, basically, the Zanpakuto. Um, and this early arc, again, is set up. It's about like introducing concepts, introducing what the hollows are, how they work, that they're formerly souls of people, corrupted, and that you need to cleanse them, all of that jazz. It introduces us to some other characters involved in souls and whatnot, such as the charismatic Kisuke Urahara, who is one of my favorite characters in the series by far, and his shop of misfits. We're introduced to some other Soul Reapers at various points in this arc. And we're, of course, introduced to just random other characters around town, including a spiritually aware TV sidekick named Don Kananji, who is fucking ridiculous, but is actually a genuinely good guy. um, there's a lot of great stories in this first arc, too. You get to see all these different events go on, such as when Ichigo has to end up taking on this young, full of himself Quincy named Uryu Ishida. The Quincy's are a rival faction to the Soul Eaters that were presumably wiped out a long time ago, hundreds of years in the past, and Uryu is the last surviving member of the Quincy. The Quincy are a lot more harsh on Hollows than Soul Eaters. They don't tend to cleanse them, but actually kill them. So there's been kind of a long-standing rivalry there. Plus, the fact that they kill the Hollows upsets the balance of souls, and there's an issue there. But the Soul Eaters also determining that they needed to, commit genocide and kill all of the Quincy's was also not good by any means. The Soul Reapers were not in the right there, not by any account. But yeah, we get to see all these different adventures. We get to see fighting different kinds of hollows. We get to see the friends awaken their spiritual awareness. Chad gets some strength-related powers, creating these spirit gauntlets around his arms. Orihime is able to summon these fairy-like manifestations of her soul that she can use to create force fields and other such things. She can use them to heal. She can use them offensively. It's actually a really cool power. And we get to see just how these characters and Ichigo deals with all of this. But it all comes to a head when Rukia is forcefully taken back to the Soul Society, in which the Soul Reapers live and act. She's taken back to face judgment for giving her powers to a human, and Ichigo has to get some training from Kisuke Urahara and go with his friends to the Soul Society to rescue her. And that's where this arc leaves off as they're headed into the Soul Society. It just ends with that cliffhanger. And I think that's the right move because it feels like a turning point in the series. We've seen how all of these characters have gone from being just normal high school kids to becoming spiritually aware and becoming involved in spiritual combat and arts. So it's really cool to see how it's now going to change focuses into something more serious, a rescue mission in basically what amounts to as the world of the dead. And it's going to be really, really cool to go back through that and see the Gote 13 and just everything else that is really good during this part of the series. Probably one of my favorite parts of the series for sure. But we get to meet other characters during this as well, including a talking cat named Yoriichi, and just various other things happen. It's very introductory. There's not really a lot of important stuff to discuss. The biggest thing is at the end when two other Soul Reapers, two members of the Gote 13, Captain Byakuya Kuchiki and Lieutenant Renji Abarai. I butchered that when I was saying it. Renji Abarai. When they come to fetch Rukia, Ichigo and even Uryu try to fight them, but both fail and really badly. Byakuya is the older adoptive brother of Rukia, but shows no love toward her. Renji is clearly noted to have a past with Rukia, but is also acting pretty cold. And they kind of force her into willingly going along with him, along with them, in order to protect the friends that she did make on Earth. And again, that's kind of where it leads into Ichigo and the others training and then heading into the Soul Society. Because Ichigo lost his Soul Reaper powers when Byakuya attacked him. And so he had to basically get them back with Kisuke Urahara's help. It was interesting, to say the least, to see him have to go through this really quick training to just kind of force it out of him. I'm really excited to see where this goes once again. I remember a good portion of it, but not everything. And I'm just excited for what's to come. So yeah, these will be coming out every so often, basically every time I finish an arc, which basically just depends on how quickly I end up watching through the arc. So these are obviously like my Hunter x Hunter arc reviews, so expect me to just talk about the basics behind each arc and my general thoughts. But I would also love to hear your thoughts. So if you have seen Bleach, let me know what your thoughts are on the Agent of the Shinigami arc. And thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.